Have you ever wondered about the legendary samurai of Japan? Those iconic warriors in ornate armor, wielding the deadly katana. Their story is more than just battles and swords. It's a tale of honor, power, and a code that shaped a nation for centuries. Today, we're going to journey back in time to uncover the complete history of the samurai. Our story begins over 1,000 years ago, during Japan's Heian period, from the late 8th to the 12th century. At this time, the central imperial court in Kyoto was losing its grip on the provinces. Wealthy landowners and powerful clans needed protection for their estates, and they couldn't rely on the distant emperor. So, they started hiring private warriors. These were the first samurai, whose name literally means those who serve. Initially, they were little more than hired guards or provincial enforcers. They were skilled in archery, horsemanship, and sword fighting. Their primary job was to protect their employers' lands and interests. But as the central government's authority continued to weaken, these warrior clans grew stronger and more organized. Two major clans, the Taira and the Minamoto, rose to prominence, and their rivalry would soon plunge the country into a full-scale civil war, the Genpei War. The Minamoto clan, led by the brilliant strategist Minamoto no Yoritomo, ultimately emerged victorious in 1185. This victory marked a pivotal moment in Japanese history. Yoritomo didn't just defeat his rivals. He fundamentally changed the power structure of Japan. In 1192, he established the Kamakura Shogunate, a military government, and took the title of shogun, or supreme military commander. This was the dawn of the samurai's golden age. For the next 700 years, Japan would be ruled not by the emperor, who became a symbolic figurehead, but by the samurai. The shogun was the de facto ruler, and the samurai class sat at the very top of the social hierarchy. They were the government, the military, and the law. This period saw the samurai's influence permeate every aspect of Japanese life. They were patrons of the arts, supported Zen Buddhism, and cultivated a unique culture centered around martial prowess and disciplined living. The samurai weren't just brutal warriors. They lived by a strict ethical code known as Bushido, or the way of the warrior. While Bushido wasn't formally written down until much later, its principles governed the samurai's life. At its core were 7 key virtues: integrity, respect, courage, honor, compassion, honesty, and most importantly, loyalty. Loyalty to one's lord, or daimyo, was absolute. A samurai was expected to serve their master faithfully, even to death. Honor was equally paramount. A samurai's word was his bond, and any stain on his honor was considered a fate worse than death. If a samurai failed in his duty or brought shame upon himself or his lord, he might perform seppuku, a ritual suicide, to restore that lost honor. This might sound extreme, but it demonstrates the incredible importance they placed on their principles. Bushido wasn't just about how to fight. It was about how to live and die with dignity. Their martial arts training was legendary. Young samurai began their training at an early age, mastering the bow, the spear, and of course, the sword. The katana, with its distinctive curved blade, became the soul of the samurai. It was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of their status and a work of art. The bond between a samurai and his sword was said to be deeply spiritual. The long era of samurai rule wasn't always peaceful. The 5th, 10th, and 16th centuries, known as the Sengoku period or the Age of Warring States, saw Japan fracture into dozens of independent domains, each led by a powerful daimyo. This was a time of constant warfare, as these warlords battled for supremacy. It was an era that produced some of Japan's most famous samurai figures, like Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, the 3 great unifiers of Japan. After decades of conflict, it was Tokugawa Ieyasu who finally succeeded in unifying the country. In 1603, he established the Tokugawa shogunate, which would rule Japan for over 250 years of relative peace and stability, a period known as the Edo period. With no major wars to fight, the role of the samurai began to change. They transitioned from being battlefield warriors to becoming administrators, bureaucrats, and scholars. While they still trained in martial arts and wore their two swords as a symbol of their rank, their day-to-day lives were far more peaceful. This long peace, however, would ironically sow the seeds of their eventual decline. The world outside Japan was changing rapidly. In 1853, everything changed. American Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with a fleet of powerful steam-powered warships, which the Japanese called Black Ships. He demanded that Japan open its borders to foreign trade, ending over 2 centuries of self-imposed isolation. The Tokugawa shogunate, with its outdated military technology, was powerless to resist. This forced opening created immense political turmoil within Japan. Many felt the shogun had failed to protect the country, and a powerful movement arose to overthrow the shogunate and restore the emperor to actual power. This movement, led by a group of ambitious young samurai from the outer domains, culminated in the Meiji Restoration of 1868. The new Meiji government was determined to modernize Japan as quickly as possible to compete with the Western powers. They realized that the old feudal system, with the samurai at its head, was an obstacle to progress. In a series of radical reforms, the government dismantled the samurai class. Their domains were abolished, their right to wear swords in public was revoked, and their stipends were converted into government bonds. The once mighty warrior class was effectively dissolved. The end of the samurai was not without resistance. The last and most famous samurai rebellion was the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877, led by the legendary Sago Takamori, often called the last true samurai. Despite their courage and skill, the traditional samurai warriors were no match for the new National Conscript Army, which was armed with modern rifles and artillery. The rebellion was crushed, and Sago Takamori met his end, marking the definitive close of the samurai era. But did the samurai truly disappear? While the class itself was abolished, their legacy is woven into the very fabric of modern Japan. The spirit of Bushido, with its emphasis on discipline, loyalty, honor, and perseverance, has had a profound and lasting impact on Japanese culture. From business ethics to martial arts like kendo and judo, the samurai's dedication to craftsmanship and aesthetics can still be seen in Japanese art and design. The stories of the samurai continue to captivate us, inspiring countless movies, books, and video games. They represent a fascinating paradox: disciplined, artistic figures who were also deadly warriors, living and dying by a code of honor that seems almost mythical today. Their journey from provincial guards to the rulers of a nation and their eventual fall is one of history's most compelling epics. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the samurai. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about fascinating historical topics, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments which part of the samurai story you find most interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.